Good morning. We are going to talk about multiplying with a scalar when there are variables. So remember, when we're multiplying with a scalar, that means that we are going to multiply everything inside of this matrix by the negative 5y. So the first thing we're going to do is and then with a scalar, we're starting with a 1 by 4, and we're going to end with a 1 by 4. So how I'm going to write this out, negative 5y times 3x. Well, negative 5y times 3x. So when we're multiplying things with variables, the first thing we can do is we can multiply the coefficients. So I'm going to get negative 15. And then y times x is just x, y. Typically, you're going to write those in alphabetical order, but it's multiplication, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go ahead and start my matrix. All right, now we have to do the next one. We're going to do negative 5y times 4y. And I get, again, the coefficients, which is negative 20. And then y times y. Would I write y twice? No. Another way to write that is y squared. Then I'm going to do the same thing. Negative 5y times 2. Well, that gives me just 2 of those. So negative 10y. And then the last one, negative 5y times negative 2y. And that gives me a positive 10, because negative 5 times negative 2 is positive 10. And y times y is y squared. And that is the end of that one. So now we're going to do a scalar times some of these things that are in this matrix that are binomials, which is that s minus 2 and r minus 1. So one of the things you might have remembered from rational expressions is if I go like this, I haven't changed the problem, but it implies to me that I can't break those up and that they are one entry. So I'm going to do, there we go, I'm going to multiply this negative 4s times every single thing that's in here. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to do my calculations right here. So I have negative 4s times 2r. Well, that gives me the two coefficients, which is negative 8 and rs, or sr. Then I'm going to do that again, but I'm going to do negative 4s times negative 1. Well, that just gives me a positive 4s. Now this is where it gets a little more complicated. I'm going to have negative 4s times s minus 2. Well, we've seen this before in Algebra 1, we've seen it in Algebra 2, we might have even seen it in geometry. I'm going to multiply both, so I'm going to distribute it. So negative 4s times s is negative 4s squared. S times s is s squared. And then negative 4 times negative 2 is a positive 8s. So now I have a binomial inside of here. Okay, let me write that one. Let's do this one. Okay, so now I got to do this again. Negative 4s times 3y, and I get negative 12sy. And then we have a little more complicated one again. We have negative 4s times r minus 1, and I get negative 4rs plus 4s. And let's see, what color haven't I used? Let's do purple. Alright, so then we have negative 4s times 5, and that just gives me a negative 20s. So when you're distributing, make sure you keep your variables together, and you can have that. Make sure you know how the exponent rules work, and that will help you going forward. Okay, so we're going to do some matrix multiplication with variables. This is where it gets a little kind of crazy. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to check to see. This is a 1 row by 2 columns, 1 by 2, and this is a 2 by 2. The inside numbers match, my columns and my rows match, which gives me an answer of a 1 by 2. So I'll start it there. But I'm going to end up with a 1 by 2. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the entirety of this row and multiply it by this column. So I'm going to end up with negative 5y times yx plus, and this is row 1, column 1, plus 6y times negative 6x. Well, the same rules apply. So I'm going to end up with negative 5y squared x plus negative 36xy. Y times y is y squared times x. There are no like terms that I can combine, so I'm going to simplify this and write my first term. So I have negative 5y squared x minus 36xy. Then I'm going to do that again. So now I have to do row 1, column 2. And this is going to be my last entry because I have a 1 by 2. So negative 5y times xy plus 6y times 4x. So negative, there we go, I get negative 5, y times y is y squared, and then I have x plus 6 times 4 is 24, so positive 24, and then xy again. There are no like terms to combine, so I'm going to go ahead because x squared times x is different than xy. So then I'm going to have negative 5y squared x plus 24xy. And that is the end of my matrix. I need to make sure I close that up. Boom, done. Okay, so now we have a 2 by 2 times a 2 by 2. So a 2 by 2 is going to equal a 2 by 2. So we're going to start that right there. All right, so we're going to, again, this entire row. So we have row 1 times column 1. And I'm going to have negative 2 times negative 6y plus negative 5y times y squared. And that gives me positive 12, because negative 2 times negative 6 is a positive 12, y plus negative 5 times 1 is negative 5, y times y squared. Exponent rules tell me I add the exponents, or I could write y 3 times, which is the same as y cubed. So now all I have to do is simplify here, and I'm going to get 12y minus 5y cubed. That is my first entry. Alright, now I have to do the second column. So this is still row 1. This is column 2. I have negative 2 times y squared plus negative 5y times 0. Ooh, this is going to be great. Negative 2 times y squared is negative 2y squared. Anything times 0 is 0. So my second entry is just going to be negative 2y squared. Now I'm going to go to the next one. Okay, this is row 2, column 1, 3x times negative 6y plus negative 5y times y squared, and I end up with negative 18xy plus negative 5y cubed. Again, I need to simplify that area, so I get negative 18xy minus 5y cubed. Alright, and my last entry is going to be row 2 times column 2. And I'm going to do 3x times y squared plus negative 5y times 0, which ends up being 3xy squared. And anything times 0 is 0, so 3xy squared. And that is the end of my matrix. Again, please pay attention to the way that I've organized everything. I've shown all my work. I wrote down where I was putting everything to help me remember where I need to put it. Okay, this is our last example. So we are given something where it equals something, and we're going to solve for x and y. This is a 3 by 3 matrix. This is a 3 by 1. and this is a 3 by 1. If we look at this, we should have been able to multiply these because the middle numbers match, this columns by these rows, and our answer should be a 3 by 1, which it is. So we're great. Alright, so here's where it gets a little bit tricky. So we have everything figured out. We just have to decide what we're going to use to solve. Since we have to multiply the entirety of a row by a column, we want to be careful with this third row right here because it equals a variable, and if I multiply this row by this, I'm going to end up with 2 variables, and that's not going to help me solve. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the first row or the second row and choose that one because there are no variables in this one, in the answer or in this matrix. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just take the first row. The second row would work too, but I'm going to take the first row and I'm going to multiply row 1 times column 1. And that's going to give me negative 2 times 1 plus 1 times x plus 2 times 3. And all of that, so it's row 1, column 1, all of that's going to equal this, which is equal to 6. Alright, so negative 2 times 1 is negative 2 plus 1 times x is just x, plus 2 times 3 is 6 equals 6. I have like terms right here, negative 2 and 6 are like terms. I'm going to combine those, and I end up with x plus 4 equals 6. To get the x by itself, I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides, and I get x is equal to 2. So that I'm going to use to help me solve. So now I'm going to take the third row, and I'm going to use that to take care of it. So then I end up with, this is row 3, this is column 1, that's what I'm multiplying by, and my answer is going to be row 3, column 1, which is y. So now I have 0 times 1, which is right here, plus negative 2 times x, plus 4 times 3, and all of that is going to be equal to y. Well, we know what x equals, right? Because we already found it. So I'm going to use that. So anything times 0 is 0. Negative 2. So then I'm going to have negative 2 times, and we said x was 2. So I'm going to substitute that back in to help me solve. Plus 12 is equal to y. Well, negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. Plus 12 is equal to y. And negative 4 plus 12 is 8 equals y. Now I'm done. I have my answer, and I have used this matrix and this matrix to get those left. If you have any questions, please let me know. Send me an email. Thank you.